and I'll just take a breath and we'll pretend we're live, I guess. I don't.
Sounds good. No swearing then.
Exactly, right. And I actually have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question about that, so don't let me forget to ask it here.
Oh, okay.
So I am here with Tim Brown on the phone, the guitarist of the band Striker. Tim, thanks very much for taking some time to chat with us here. I don't know how much information you get about who you're talking to. Did they give you the station or anything like that, or just a list of names and numbers?
I got a station ID, so WLP FM, contact name, and then a phone number, and that's it.
And that's it. Okay. Well, they were 3/4 right. That was probably Muncie putting that together. So WVLP, and we're.
V. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm too far from my computer.
That's all right. We're a tiny station in a tiny town, and so I always appreciate it when somebody wants to talk to us. The show that you're on is called Mostly Metal, and it airs for 2 hours a week. I was really excited when Muncie was rolling down the lists of people he had available, and I heard Striker, and I thought, oh, they're playing Prog Power this year. I definitely need to talk to somebody there. Because we are excited.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, that's going to be an awesome show. We're really excited to play there, and then also be fans there. There's a ton of awesome bands. We're super excited for Pagan Fine.
Absolutely.
I am personally, and also Winger for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been going for a couple of decades now. I've only missed like 3 of them, I think, since the 3rd one.
Oh, nice.
So I'm very excited. So let's just kind of go through the band and what you're doing now and what your plans are in the near future. So geographically, Wikipedia says you guys are from Edmonton. Is everybody located there, or are you kind of spread all over the place?
Yeah, we're based in Edmonton. We're all from Edmonton. We all grew up in the heavy metal scene here, playing sandwiched between death metal and black metal. And somehow we decided to be a fun heavy metal band that wears a lot of colors.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was happy when I saw Edmonton. I grew up in Cincinnati, and when I was a kid, the Cincinnati Stingers were the hockey team in the area, and they played in the same league as the Oilers and the Quebec Nordiques before they moved up to the NHL, and then the Cincinnati team went away. So that was kind of sad.
Oh, well, that's a cool. I didn't know that about Cincinnati.
You had mentioned colorful band photos, which is funny because I actually have it open on my computer because I wanted to talk about it a bit. For people that can't see it at the moment, there's 4 guys in front of a very colorfully painted wall with very colorful clothing on. This is kind of the opposite of the standard scowling, everybody in black heavy metal photo. So what was the idea behind that?
I think for us, we just wanted to be a lot more, for starters, we wanted to be, a little bit more unique. And then on top of that, we wanted to be more true to ourselves in that when we write music, when we perform music, when we're practicing, when we're sitting in the tour van, just chatting, we are a very fun band. We like to have fun. We tell jokes. Everything's fun and funny. And in that vein, it's like, okay, well, we need our outward appearance. We need to project who we are. And that is fun. So our main thing is just having fun, right? In this day and age, you don't get anything from music. You're never going to be a millionaire playing metal. You're not going to be famous. Nobody cares about heavy metal, right? So it's like, okay, if there's no money in it, you're never going to get famous. Gene Simmons would never get into metal these days. If he was born, 20 years ago, he wouldn't be playing metal. He'd probably be like a pro gamer or something. But there's not a lot of glory in it. So it's like, okay, well, what's the main thing? It's fun. I mean, that's why I picked up a guitar in my teens, is because playing heavy metal was fun. It was the most fun thing to play, and like singing heavy metal, playing drums in heavy metal, all that stuff. It's just the most fun. So for us, we really wanted to have that, have our look match our sound, because I think, you know, you see the traditional heavy metal. Oh, you got to wear black leather and you got to be mad and scowling. It's
Yes.
just like, okay, well, that doesn't really fit our music necessarily. I mean, we've tried to sort of, you know, wear that uniform, and I just don't think it really matches with us. And then on top of that, I mean, these days everybody's LARPing is something ridiculous. It's like, oh yeah, we're a band of dwarves, or we're a bunch of dragons, and oh, check out our sweet, you know, we're wearing friggin' full plate mail on stage. And it's just like, for us, we just we're not fans of that kind of stuff. And I mean, to be fair, I like the music of some of those bands, but man, I just cannot. It just puts me off a lot when we see those kinds of bands in. So for us, we just want to be like, okay, well, if everybody's LARPing, if that's how you got to be these days, because you know, the attention economy, everybody has only 3 seconds worth of brain power to view your TikTok reel. So we just really wanted to say, okay, well, if we have to LARP as something to get any, you know, amount of attention, just so someone will listen to us, we might as well LARP as something that's actually cool. And, you know, so we're basically just LARPing as who we would have wanted to be when we were like 6 years old, you know, in like 1993. You know, pretending to be someone from the American Gladiators or a monster truck, or, you know, oh, I want to be a Nerf gun when I grow up. So, you know, just something like that, you know, just have a lot more fun with it. Don't take it so seriously. I think that there's a glut of bands who are just too serious these days, and, you know, you just got to take it easy and have fun.
I think this does a good job of kind of putting that right in front of everything for the new album. There is a lot of fun in metal, but a lot of times you have to see past the imagery, like the stuff you're talking about, to, you know, you're at a show and it's obvious they're up there having a great time, but if you just took a picture of it, it would look miserable.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good to have the contrast. So the new album is Ultra Power, and I will admit that I was exposed to you guys with Play to Win when that came out in 2018. That was, oh, good grief, that's 6 years ago now. So that one and Ultra Power are the two that I've become the most familiar with. And Ultra Power does seem to have that sense of kind of fun infused into a lot of the music. There's, you know, tell me if it's a fair assessment so far, that it seems to be, you know, it has a little more keyboard in it. There's even a song with a saxophone that leads off. So is this something a little bit more intentional, or did it just kind of evolve to that?
I'd say a bit of both. I mean, we're always evolving as songwriters. There was obviously a long break between the two albums, but a lot of that just comes down to COVID ruining the music industry for 3 years. So, you know, it's like, okay, 3 years doesn't count. So instead of 6 years, it's only 3 years. And then we actually recorded Ultra Power about a year ago. So then it's like, okay, so for us, it only feels sort of like 2 years between albums, if that makes any sense. We've had a lot of changes in the band, obviously some new band members. And then on top of that, there's a lot of changes sort of in the back end, like who we're working with in terms of like, you know, marketing, promotion, booking agents, management, all that stuff is all different now. And I think we're just looking from top to bottom. It's like, okay, you know, we've we've done the grind for years and years and years. And like I mentioned, you know, nobody's getting rich off this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's getting famous. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing to it other than having fun. So we just tried a lot to strip away all of the, everything that wasn't fun, basically. It's like, you know, when we're playing a song or picking one, it's like, okay, let's pretend that there's two songs and they're both equally, you know, subjectively, you like them both, but you have to put one on the album and one not. It's like, okay, well, one song is fun to play, one song isn't. Let's choose a fun song.
Sure.
Or, you know, one song has funny lyrics that, you know, make you emote in some kind of way. You know, you get a little giggle out of it or whatever. And then the other one is, you know, they're good lyrics, but you have to really, you know, you probably have to read the lyrics to really figure it out. And, you know, it takes an extra day and a full essay to get the deeper meaning of. And it's like, nobody cares about that stuff. These days, the attention economy, you get maybe 3 seconds, maybe 1 second if you're lucky. And it's just like, there's nobody these days, a general audience member, just like, they have no attention. They cannot get any sort of deeper meaning on anything. Just it's like the general public. So for us, it's just like fun. Make it knuckle dragging, make it as dumb as possible. Let's just go dumb it down and just make it fun. So that's sort of what we were focusing on with this album, is just make it fun. Let's have fun. Let's not make the songs too complicated so that they're a pain in the ass to play live or anything like that. You know, let's just go have fun with it.
And it does sound like, you know, you still have the kind of the core sound hasn't really seemed to change that much. I mean, I did go back and I dabbled a little bit with a couple of tracks from some of the older albums, just to get a sense of it. And I think I picked one off of Armed to the Teeth. That was on Spotify, and I don't remember which song it was, but that was, to me, that sounded sort of in the vein of a Jag Panzer kind of sound, and it really hasn't drifted too far, other than some of the extra dressings that you've put on it, like with maybe more whimsical lyrics, or a lot more variety in the instrumentation and things like that. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've sort of been circling the melodic metal drain, if you will. We sort of circle around, and you know, we have a wide variety of influences, but at the end of the day, it's still mostly the same people, like myself and Dan. We've been in the band a long time. Dan is the primary songwriter. He's our vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just having the same vocalist, I think, is a big thing that really, you know, with any band, that really ties eras together. Certainly, if you look at a band like Iron Maiden, for example, obviously their first two albums are different because they have a different vocalist.
Right.
And that, you know, sets a very hard separation between sort of two sounds. And with us, it's kind of interesting because, you know, like you mentioned, there's a lot of differences when it comes to production on our albums. I think in the earlier albums, we really wanted an 80s sound. And then we sort of smartened up and realized, oh, wait a second, the 80s had objectively terrible audio quality. I mean, it's great. There's a lot of great songs that are, you know, musically amazing lyrics, amazing performances, but the recording technology of the day is just bad. It's just the way it is. I mean, you put on old albums compared to new albums, and new albums just always sound better. There's just better technology, better everything. I mean, it's one thing if you're, you know, sitting there and have a really amazing sound system, and, you know, you got all the bells and whistles, and you can put on the original vinyl, and you're comparing everything on vinyl. It's like, okay, yeah, that maybe there's a little bit more merit, but you know, that's such a small percentage of the population. Everybody's basically just listening to things on their cell phone speakers. So, I mean, especially when you're comparing old 80s music to new modern music, the new modern music just sounds way better.
Mm-hmm.
So when we play live, it's actually pretty interesting just how sort of seamless all of our different songs can fit together. Like we'll play a song off the first album, and it's still in the same neighborhood as a brand new song.
Sure.
We're generally we're a 5-piece heavy metal band. We play mostly up tempo, fast music. So there's usually guitar leads in it. There's probably a guitar solo and some high vocal notes, and that's the Striker formula, I guess.
And no growl.
Have fun and shred. Yeah. There's the occasional growl here or there, but
you had mentioned the pandemic, and between Play to Win from 2018 and the new one, Ultra Power, you guys released Alive in the Studio 2020. Was that a pandemic project for you guys just to keep busy?
Yeah, sort of. Everybody was doing like live virtual concerts,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
And we had watched some, and some were interesting. It's kind of more like a long music video, if you will. And there were some bands that had very successful little virtual shows and tours or whatever, and then other bands didn't. And so we were considering doing some like virtual shows and stuff, and we were thinking, okay, well, why don't we try this live in the studio first, because it's like, you can't play live anywhere. And then we wanted to do something, stay active, because we were going to record a new album actually in 2020, and we had, producer lined up. We were going to go record down in the States, and the pandemic happened, and it's like, okay, well, we're screwed. And then we had sort of had an idea to do that live in the studio thing before, just as sort of something to stay busy, and then it just happened to be the perfect time to do that. We're like, okay, let's do that for now, and then that'll get us ready and shape to go down to the studio. And then obviously everything, hiatus on everything shut down, and just sort of we had to reorganize our lives, I guess. And after that, we put out 2 singles, Death Wish and Strange Love. And those were actually going to be singles from the new album that we never recorded over the pandemic. And then sort of the pandemic ended, and then we're like, oh, okay, let's get back on the ball. Let's get back in the game. Let's get shredding again. Let's get a new album out. Let's, reintroduce ourselves to the world. So it sort of seems like a new band to us. And then also, the music industry is so different now. You can certainly separate into pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of changes. Like, we're trying to book a tour, and it's a lot different these days than it was pre-COVID, which is crazy because it was terrible pre-COVID. It just seems to be so much worse. You hear about all these bands having to cancel big tours. I think like Anthrax had to cancel a EU tour last year, and all these other bands. It's just there's a lot more challenges. A ton of people have left the music industry, so it's a bit doom and gloom. But at the same time, it's kind of like a rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix rising from the ashes.
Do you guys have as much difficulty or annoyance, at least, getting the ability to, say, come across and play in the States as bands from Europe? Because I know sometimes bands have had to go belly up on their tour because somebody couldn't get their visa process to close in time or something like that. How has that been for you?
Oh yeah, no, that is 100% a disaster. It's crazy. I don't understand why the United States has their work visa policies like they do. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it's easier and cheaper for us to go to Europe, which makes no sense. I mean, we're from Canada. We're from a smallish city, Edmonton, which is basically in the middle of nowhere. For us to fly to Europe, why is it cheaper for us to fly to Europe? Why is it easier for us to go to Europe and play shows in Europe than to just drive south and play in the States? It's such a disaster. And it gets worse and worse every year. It's insane. The last tour we did with Beast in Black, we send in our visa information, pay the insane fees that just keep going up and up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
And the response that we get from U.S. immigration is, oh, your guitar player already has the U.S. green card, so he doesn't need to be on this visa application, which means that your visa application was filed incorrectly. And I was just like, what are you talking about? He does not have a green card. What is this? And, you're just like screaming into the void, basically.
Sure.
Nobody cares. U.S. immigration, you think some bureaucrat who's getting paid like minimum wage cares about your band? No. And I mean, we did a tour with Death Angel, and our visas didn't come through in time, which is insane. Again, it's like I mentioned, the costs keep going up and the processing times get worse and worse and worse. So, you could submit a visa, and on the website it says, expect 30 days for processing, but then it takes 60 days to process. And then you're screwed, and you're like, when we did our Death Angel tour, we're sitting at the border for, I think, 3 or 4 days waiting for our visa to get the paperwork, because there's nothing else to do. It's like either we cancel this tour or we go sit and wait at the border. And that's what we did. And then on top of that, they wouldn't let us in on the first day for that Death Angel tour. This was back in the Trump era, and Trump had just announced like a trade embargo or trade war with China. And we just happened to have some patches, like a bag of 100 patches, like, for your battle vest that were made in China. And they're just like, oh, these made in China? No, you can't come in. You have to leave all your merch. And it's just like, what a disaster. So, I mean, crossing the border into the United States literally gives me PTSD.
I believe
probably one out of 5 times they probably, take us back, interrogate us one by one. They separate you. Everybody goes in a separate room. Then you're surrounded by armed guards, and they're just, they take this instant antagonistic approach to you. And it's like, man, I'm just a metal band. I'm here to play metal. Like, I have the paperwork. Why aren't you letting me in? Like, what is going on? It's just insane. I don't get it, because at the end of the day, the people coming into play are coming to play for Americans. They're there to make Americans happy. You go to a show to have fun. And it's just so crazy that there's all this bureaucracy and chaos around it. It's just insane. I don't know how anybody gets anything done.
I've never heard a good thing about it.
No, it's terrible. Yeah, I could go on and on forever. So
at least now you have a nice, colorful, fun picture to hold up and say, look, you're going to keep these guys out? Look how much fun they look.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all that aside, speaking of touring and performing, are you going to have like a good tour schedule set up? Are you doing mostly fests, or how's that going?
So we have our first festival is Legions of Metal in Chicago in May. And then we'll be doing a sort of West Coast or Western side of North America tour to support that. That should hopefully be announced in the next couple weeks. And then in September, we're doing Prague Power. And again, we're going to be doing another North American tour to support that. Hopefully, focus a little bit more on the East Coast. When we did our tour with Beast in Black, was that 2 years ago? We were supposed to hit up the East Coast, but then we got COVID. So, I mean, like we were talking about before with COVID, it's the COVID era. It's just you try to go out on tour, and then everybody gets COVID, and then on the drive home, we were literally using text to speech on our phones to talk to each other because, like, the vocal cords just didn't work. So we had to cancel, basically the East Coast portion of the tour, which was really unfortunate for us. But hey, man, that's way she goes.
Yeah, well, hopefully things will be a lot smoother this time around.
Yeah, I think so. I think, everybody's, a lot more people are vaccinated. There's not as much COVID chaos happening. The world is healed, so to speak.
Quote unquote, yeah. Yeah. I want to kind of get this closed out so that you don't have to rush to move on to a next one if you have one. So focusing on the latest album, Ultra Power, here's what I'll ask you to do. I'll ask you to help me design a playlist that I'll put on right after this airs. So can you give me, what is your favorite song off of Ultra Power?
Well, my favorite song is, I'm going to have to say, Live to Fight Another Day. That's sort of our synthwave song, super 80s montage style song. But if you're looking for a playlist, I strongly recommend our first 4 singles off Ultra Power, which are Best of the Best of the Best, Circle of Evil, Give It All, and Sucks to Suck. So that's sort of, like I said, circling the drain. That's sort of circles the drain, gives you Best of the Best is just sort of like I don't know, we'll call it like a hockey song, just sort of hard rock, Nickelback almost kind of thing. And then Circle of Evil is a speed thrash kind of song, one of the heavier ones on the album.
And that opens the album, so that kicks it off to a good start.
Yeah. That one's a little bit more evil. That's in the name.
Right.
And then Give It All is a song with saxophone on it that has New Kids on the Block saxophonist playing saxophone on it.
Nice.
And he shreds hard. And that one's more of just like a fun, lighter song. And then Sucks to Suck is sort of our take at almost like pop punk. It's sort of like an Offspring, but heavy metal. It's just sort of a more fun kind of song. And it kind of gives you a little bit of variety of different sort of subgenres in metal and different takes on it. But like we were talking about, it all sort of sounds like Striker at the end of the day.
Sweet. And that reminded me of what I wanted to ask about at the very beginning when you joked about no swearing. Is I played Best of the Best of the Best on the show last week. And then when I was doodling around in Spotify, I noticed that Spotify marked it as an explicit track. Is the FCC going to come after me now or what?
No, I think you'll be okay.
Okay, that's great. And to put you on the spot, to go with the songs that you've recommended already, can you give me a song that isn't by Striker but would pair very well with Striker, if that makes sense?
Ooh.
Like one of your favorites from a different band that fits really well with what you guys are doing.
Ooh, that's a good question. A song, I'm going to probably think, you know what? I'm going to say Firehouse. What's that song? Reach for the Sky by Firehouse.
All right. I'm going to dig that up and I will, I'll put it in there. It's always, I kind of ask that question once in a while for people I'm talking to, and it's always fun to see what the pairings end up being. But it's been super fun talking to you. This was Tim Brown from Striker, and thank you for calling in. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at Prague Power, and I'm about an hour and a half away from Chicago, and I've been thinking about the Legions of Metal Fest. So if there are tickets still left, maybe I'll sneak out there as well, and people in our listening radius, look for that festival because it's going to be a good one.
Nice. Yeah, that should be a great festival. The day that we're playing is sort of the Canadian Invasion Day with Unleash the Archers and some other Canadians. It should be great.
And they have a Texas Invasion Day, I think, with Watchtower So that's going to be
Yeah,
super
yeah,
as
that should be
well.
good too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been great. Thanks so much. I hope you can have a breather before you get back on the horn with somebody else. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks. Bye.